Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Southwest REC's Tech Bites. And today we have Amber Richmond, and she's going to share with us how to integrate Nearpod into your LMS. And so let me go ahead and turn this over to Amber Richmond.
Thank you, Christine. Glad to be here as always. All right. So today we're going to be talking about how to integrate Nearpod with your LMS. And as we go through this, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover, we're going to review some Nearpod basics. We're going to talk about some settings that will make things flow a little smoother. We're going to talk about assigning Nearpod without having an LMS, and then also talk about Nearpod Canvas integration. And then I also added Google integration as well as Teams integration. All right, but before we get into that, I first want to talk about why you should use Nearpod. So I know that a lot of you give presentations in your classroom, and for me, my go-to was always PowerPoint or Google Slides. I would put it up there, I'd go through it, my students would take notes, but I would lose a lot of engagement because students weren't really focused in on what I was saying. I wasn't making it interactive. So Nearpod's going to give you that interactive piece where you can really make it to where students are having to answer questions and actually do activities as you go through your slides. And it really does seamlessly connect with most LMSs. All right, so first we're going to go over some Nearpod basics. So I want to start us off in Nearpod itself. So if you're unfamiliar with Nearpod, we did previously do a Nearpod 101 basics, and we did a Nearpod advanced lesson. So if you really want to know in detail how to build out some of these things, go back and watch those. I'm going to show you a little bit of basics now, just because you need to know how to get lessons in your library in order to assign those. So I'm going to just go over how to add a basic lesson to your Nearpod library, so then we can go assign that and integrate it within our LMS. All right, so first we go to this create button. Well, first you have to log into Nearpod, of course. I'm already logged in. But when you go in, you can either create a free account, or if your school has already paid for your school account, you can log in using your school credentials. And I know some schools also log in using Clever, depending on how your district has it set up. So once you're in, it's going to take you to this dashboard, and the create button is right here. So you can click that. From here, you can do a full lesson. This is creating your slide decks with interactive built-in activities. You can use Google Slides to create these as well. That also gives you your option to bring in your PowerPoints here as well if you want to. But for now, I'm just going to go into create a lesson. Let that load for a second. So once you get into create a lesson, it's going to automatically pop up like, what kind of slide do you want to make? And there's all of these different activities you can add to your slides. So for this, I always usually start off with just a slide. So I'm going to add that in. Just click on it, click add. My computer's being a little slow today. And then you can decorate it, add your title, all that good stuff. Okay, from here, once you have the way you want it to look, you just hit save. And it's going to bring you back here. And you can continue to add new content until you build it out however you want. I am going to add a collaboration board because that is something I'm going to talk to you about a little bit later. And I want to have an example one ready for you to go. All right, so I'm just going to add that and save it. All right, when you're done, you can just hit save and exit. So now I have an assignment here that is ready to be assigned to my students. So the next basic thing I want to tell you about is, if you don't want to create your own lesson from scratch, you can come over here to the Nearpod library. And there's this whole library of lessons already made. You can sort it by grade level, by subject, content type. So let's say if you wanted a 7th grade lesson, And then you can come up here, click subject, say you want math. And there's all kinds of stuff. Pay attention to the tops here. So some of them are just little activities, like this one is just a gamified quiz, a time to climb. This one is a video. But if you come down, you'll find entire lessons. So if I wanted to teach linear function, I can preview that. And I can go through all the lessons connected with that. And then if I like it, I can click add to my lessons, and that's going to put it in my library. All right, so I'm just going to click Nearpod up here to go back to my library. And you can see here's the linear function lesson I just added, and then the one I created before. So it goes straight to your library, and from there you're ready to put it in your LMS. Now, before we go into the LMS, there is a couple of things that I want to talk about. And the first one I want to talk about is important settings to keep in mind. So there are some settings that you want to be aware of when you're assigning assignments that you're going to be using with your LMS. And those are these three: interactive reader, allowing audio responses, and collaboration boards. So I'm going to take you through each of those. I'm going to show you where to turn them on and off and explain why you want to keep those things in mind. All right, so first we're going to come up here, click our little profile picture, and we're going to go to lesson settings. So right here is where we can turn on or off our immersive reader. So this is going to allow it to read to students. It also does language translation. So if you have your bilingual students, you may want to decide whether to keep this on or off. And the main thing is it's not going to require the students to read themselves. And so if it's important to you that they read it themselves and they get it, then you might want to make sure that's off. However, if you have some low struggling readers and you're trying to make sure that they can get grade level content and have it accessible to them, then this might be a great tool for you, especially with your bilingual students. If you have those lower level ones and you want to make sure that they're getting access to the content, this is a great tool to have on. All right. The next tool is actually inside of a lesson. So I'm going to edit this lesson that we created, and I'm going to add just an open-ended question. And this is where I'll get the settings for this. And this is a setting that you want to keep in mind. So if I put my question and I set this setting right here, enable student audio recordings, if I turn that on, then my students do not have to type their answers. They can simply speak into their microphone and it's going to record what they say. So if you have students that are struggling with writing and you want them to be able to give verbal answers, then you can turn that on. Now, this is important to keep in mind because when we are going through our LMSs, if we're using something like Canvas SpeedGrader, the audio recordings do not show up there. But if we're looking with the Nearpod reports themselves, that's where they show up. And I'll show you an example of that later. But that's something you want to keep in mind depending on which LMS you are using and how you're planning on grading. So if you're planning on grading within Nearpod, then absolutely use it. But if you're planning on grading in SpeedGrader, what I would do is I would have my students write on the board that they made an audio recording instead of typing their answer. And then that would tell me which ones to go back and look up. All right, and I'll show you examples of that later. All right, and the third thing that I want, gotta include some text in here. All right, the third thing that I want to talk about is collaboration boards. So this is a setting that you want to be careful with. And the main thing with collaboration board is if you create a Nearpod with a collaboration board and say you have multiple classes throughout the day, if first hour comes in and you'll only assign the one assignment to all your classes, first hour is going to come in, they're going to put their notes on the collaboration board. And I'm just going to show you a preview of what that looks like. So students will see this. You'll have what you want them to write about. They'll be able to share their thoughts and post them. They can add images. The problem with this one is if you assign it to the same Nearpod to all your classes and First hour fills this out. When second hour logs in, they're going to see everything that first hour already put. And so you want to keep that in mind. If you want a blank collaboration board for each class, you want to make duplicate copies of each assignment, one for each class. And so the way you do that, let me get out of here. And I'm going to go back to my Nearpod. So let's say I wanted to make a copy of this. I can click the three dots right here and I can duplicate that assignment. And I could name it if I wanted to and then save it. And I could name it first hour, second hour, third hour, and then I'll have one for each class. So you keep that in mind when you're using collaboration boards. You want to make one for every single class if you have multiple classes. Okay, so that covers our settings. So the next thing that we're going to go into is Canvas. So when we're integrating Canvas with Nearpod, there are two ways to assign Nearpods in Canvas. The first way is if your district has purchased a license. And then the second way, if a license was not purchased, let's say you're using the free version or you're using a paid version that you paid for on your own, but it wasn't purchased through the district. So I have the steps on the PowerPoint that will be listed in our resources that you'll have access to later. So, and now I'm going to go through them for you and show you what all of those steps look like. And again, if I'm going too fast or you need me to show something again, feel free to put that in the chat or just say it. Oh, okay. So let's go now. I'm going to show you, first of all, about the different packages. So if you are using Premium Plus, this is the one that your district will purchase for your entire district. I know several districts have purchased this for their district. And this is the one that includes LMS integration. I'm going to stop sharing and start sharing again just to make sure that that isn't an issue. Okay, just to make sure. All right. So all right. So Premium Plus is where we have the LMS integration. It's not in any of the other packages. So if you are using the free version or the gold or the platinum, it will not have the LMS integration. So keep that in mind, but there are workarounds and I'm going to show those to you today. All right. So let's go into Canvas and I have my sandbox here. Thank you, Daniel. I was trying to check that too. See if I need to stop sharing and share again.
She said that helped. She's back.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is our Canvas module. And I already have my module here. So depending on how you organize your Canvas, I always made my assignments go under a new module. Some people I know do it in assignments. So however you do it, I'm going to show you in modules. So I'm just going to click the little plus here and I'm going to create a new assignment. And with this assignment, I'm just going to click create assignment and we're going to do Nearpod with Canvas. And I'm going to click add item. That assignment's going to pop in there. And now I can edit that assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to edit that assignment. So depending on which version of Nearpod you are using, there's a couple different ways you will do this. So if you have the free version of Nearpod or one that you have paid for yourself, we are going to put the assignment in this box right here. If you have the district purchased premium, we're going to actually submit it as an external tool. But first, let me show you how to do it here. So if you have the free version or the self-paid one, you're going to go to your Nearpod library and you're going to choose either live participation or student paced. So remember, live participation is the one where you project it in front of your class and when you go to the next slide, it takes all of your students to the next slide with you. They cannot move. slides until you move their slide for them. And then on the teacher side, you can see all of their responses. Student pace is if you want them to be able to move the slides on their own and go through it at their own pace. So for this demonstration, I'm going to show you a student pace. So I'm just going to click student pace, and we have some options here. So we're going to start with the first one. So we can copy the link to our Nearpod just by clicking this, and then we can go to Canvas and you can simply paste the link in your box, hit enter, and that's going to hyperlink it so the students can click on it. If you do it this way, it will not connect with SpeedGrader. You will have to grade the assignments in Nearpod. And it's also going to take them to, it's going to open an external window and take them to Nearpod when they click on this. All right. If you don't want them to leave this window, you want them to be able to complete it in the window. And again, you don't have the LMS integration, you only have the free version. Then the way you would do that is to use this embed code. So if you click embed, it's going to bring up a code. Simply copy it. And we're going to come down here to this little symbol right here. So this is to insert an embed code. And I'm just going to come down here. This is a paragraph marker, so that just means it's where I'm on my next line below my link. So you can see there's a paragraph marker and then the link I entered on the first line. So right here where that has this and NBSP, we're just going to highlight that, delete it, and I'm going to paste that code right there. So I'm just going to right click, paste, and it's going to put my embed code in. I can click the embed icon again, and then I should see a preview right here of what my students will see. And so they'll be able to do it right here in the window. They can also then choose to open it in Nearpod as well. All right, so again, this is if your district has not purchased you the license, but you are using the free version or unpaid version or paid version that you purchased yourself. Okay, so now I'm going to delete this and I'm going to show you what if your district did purchase Nearpod for your entire district. So if they did purchase Nearpod for your entire district, instead of typing in this box, and you can type your instructions like complete the Nearpod below, but instead we're going to come down here to submission type. We're going to click the submission type and click external tool. And it's going to say enter or find an external tool URL. We are going to find, so click the find button. And we have all kinds of tools. Now, if your district did purchase Nearpod, you should have had someone that already went in and entered that in here for you. So it should already be in there. If it's not, in just a second, I will show you how to put it there if you're not seeing it. So I'm going to choose Nearpod. And again, when you first click here, it's going to make you log in. So make sure if you are using the district one that you log in with your school email, because if you log in with your personal one and it doesn't match up, then you're going to get an error. So we want to make sure that we're connecting our Canvas with our school account if we have one. And you can also do this to connect your personal account as well. And I'll show you how to do that here in a second. All right, so from here, you have the option to go live or student paced. So you'll notice I don't have to go to Nearpod for this. I already see my library right here in Canvas with the external tool. So let's say I wanted to do student paste here. I just click on it and I hit select. And then you can go through, update your points. If you want to take it for a grade with this LMS, you can click that. Our district used Infinite Campus, so we would sync it if we wanted to take it for a grade, but you may just take grades right out of Canvas and not have that. When you're done with all your options, just hit save or save and publish for students to be able to see it. And then we'll get the nice little preview here. Makes it nice and big. Since you linked it, students' names will automatically go in. They'll be able to click join lesson. And then if it's student paced, they can go through it at their own pace. If it is live, they'll get here and they'll be stuck. And then you'll have to open your teacher side and take them through those slides. All right, but now you can see that there is SpeedGrader right here. So this way does integrate with SpeedGrader really well, and I'll be going into that next. But before I do that, I do want to show you what if you're in your edit assignment settings and you come down here to find your external tool and Nearpod is not there. How do I get it there? Okay, so if you do not see it there, you're going to go into your class and come down here to settings. And if you do have multiple classes, you will have to do this for each class. We're going to come up here to apps. And these are all the apps that you can add to your Canvas. So we're going to come right here and we're going to type Nearpod. And then we're going to click Add App. It's going to ask you for a consumer key and a shared secret. Now, Nearpod is a free app, so we can get access to that consumer key and that shared secret for free. And we can do that by going to their integrations page. I'm going to go ahead and put that link in the chat for you. And it is also on the slide as well. So if you have that resource, you're looking at the PowerPoint, it is on the slide. All right, there's the link to the integration. You will have to come here and then hit generate consumer key, and it's going to give you a secret key. You just hit copy, and then you come over here, paste it in, and then the shared secret, just hit copy and come over here and paste it in, and then click add app. If you're clicking and it's not doing anything, it's because you need to log in, because what that does is it actually connects your Nearpod account with your Canvas account and lets it know that you're the same person. So you have to be logged in for this button to work. All right. And then from there, when you go into your assignment, you should see that external tool under your external tool settings in your assignment. Okay. So we went through how to assign if you've purchased a license, how to assign if you have not purchased a license. Okay, so now we're going to talk, and again, this is a slide where I told you where it has the how to add the app if you don't already have it, and it has the website right here in order to make that code if you need it. All right, so now I want to go into SpeedGrader and how that works in Canvas with Nearpod. It does work seamlessly. It does make grading easier. One thing I do want you to keep in mind that as students are answering questions, they do have to click that blue submit button for it to turn it into Canvas. If they don't click the button, if they just click next slide, then it's not going to show up on your end because they have to actually submit their answer. And so I would always change that setting. It's in your, let me just show you it real quick. We have time. So again, if I'm in Nearpod and I come up here to lesson settings, so there is an option right here. Let me refresh that. Sign me out. Give me 1 second. All right, so when we go into settings, there is a setting right here that requires student responses and prevents skipping. So this does not allow them to go on to the next slide unless they've hit that submit button. So I would always leave this one on so that my students would be forced to click that button. All right, so let me show you. We're in Canvas. I'm going to go to my modules. I have my assignment that I assigned. So as students are going through this, I'm just going to click it and show you really quickly. So that's what it'll tell them if they try to go on without clicking the submit button. So once they answer and they've hit the button, then it does let them go to the next slide. And again, they have to answer and then hit the submit button for you to be able to see it on your SpeedGrader. Okay, so from here you can click SpeedGrader and it's going to take you to your speed grader. And right now I don't have any students that have submitted this, so I want to go and show you an actual student's data in SpeedGrader and what that looks like. All right. So this is an actual student's. I redacted all the confidential information, don't want to violate FERPA, but this is an actual student's data. This is their Nearpod in SpeedGrader. So it kind of sorts it by slide and also by type of question. So as I get their post-session report right here at the top, it's going to show you what their participation grade is. So if you're only grading, did they do it or not? It'll have a grade here already done, and you can bring that over. But I would highly recommend that you actually go through and read, because a lot of times the students will just put in letters or random scribbles on their drawings. So you want to make sure that they did actually attempt to answer the question correctly. You're also going to see an overall class average on the assignment. And then it also separates any quizzes that were in there and gives them a separate quiz assignment. So if you wanted to have an exit ticket at the end and that part is for a grade, it will grade that one separately as well. You can come here and you can easily see the questions and what answers they put. Here's the rest of her questions. Now, one bad thing about using SpeedGrader is the drawings become itty bitty and really hard to see. And so I'll show you a fix for that here in a bit. But that is one thing to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is if they did record their answers out loud, again, it will say answer not submitted on here. So you want to be careful with those answers, but it works really good. Like this was questions within an interactive video, and I can see what those questions were. I can see what they put. Down here, I have matching pairs. This was a matching activity, and I can see, you know, they made all 7 matches. It took them 8 tries, but they completed it. Now in Canvas, every time the student goes into that assignment, it is going to count it as a submission. So your students may have multiple submissions. So that's the #1 complaint I get from teachers, is that when they go to grade a student's work, and let's say they worked on the same Nearpod for a whole week straight and they submitted on Friday, they're only seeing what they did on Friday. So the last submission that they did is what will show up on your SpeedGrader, but you just click right here and you can see all of the other submissions. And so let's say they answered 9 and 10 on this day, 8 and 9 on this day. And so you can go back and look at the different ones. And I would always leave my kids comments and make them redo it 2-3 times until they got it perfect, but that's just the kind of teacher that I was. All right. So now let's talk about grading it, not through SpeedGrader in Canvas, but grading it in Nearpod itself. So the benefits of grading in Nearpod, it's going to allow you to see the audio answers. It's going to make your drawings larger. And sometimes it will also allow you to see partial submissions. Like if they didn't click that submit button, it will still show you what they had in the box. Okay, so when we first go to reports in Nearpod, this is kind of what it looks like. So over here in Nearpod, we're going to click this reports button. We're going to see a summary of all of our students. We'll see their names here, and then we'll see who completed what. And it's going to kind of like break it up by question. So I can see a lot of them did the first question, a lot of them did the second question, but they kind of gave up by the third question. And I can just see a summary. Okay, and then we have activity reports and student reports. So I'm going to show you these. Pull this back up. All right. So this is the activity reports. So with activity reports, I can go to each question. So if I wanted the open-ended questions, let me refresh this. I logged out and logged back in. It's gonna make me do it again. It's okay. We'll get there. Okay. So I can see this is my question, and I can look at all the answers that all of my students put. I can see if they actually tried or not. I can see if they just were typing letters. Like I told you, it'll count participation if as a participation grade, even if they just do this. So you want to be careful to actually go in and read that they are actually answering and not just writing IDK or putting random letters. All right. And then if we come over here, let's look at a drawing activity. So under activity reports, I can go to drawing. I can see if they just scribbled or if they actually did what they were supposed to do. And then if I want to make it bigger, I can click on that and I can go through them this way as well. All right. And then let's look at a audio response. So this is an audio response. I can see the play button. I know the student recorded an audio response, so I can go in and listen to their answer. And this is great too if you have ELL students who you're trying to get to speak more English, but they're not comfortable talking to the class yet. A lot of them will be more comfortable just talking quietly and answering that way to you. All right, so the next thing I want to show you is student reports. And it's going to take each individual student and it's going to show you kind of what they did. Let me go to. So you can go through, see their answers. You can see examples of their drawings, and the drawings are big, and you can see everything all on one sheet. And you can even print these out if you want to write all over them and hand that back to your students. And again, it's going to have the participation grade up here, but that's just how much did they fill in. It's not actually grading it. So you will still have to go back and grade it to make sure that they actually completed things and didn't just scribble and make it look like they completed it. All right. So you can see in reports, you can get a lot of information. You can use this to grade as well. You don't have to use Canvas Speed Grader. There are pros and cons to each. And like I said, what I would do is I preferred Speed Grader just because I wanted it all in my LMS. I would leave them comments there, but I would have them right on the board if they had something that they wanted me to, like an audio recording, and they wanted me to go in and check with reports. Also, I would sometimes go into reports if I needed to make those drawings bigger as well. Okay, so that covers the reports. So now let's talk about how to integrate Nearpod with Google Classroom. So again, the steps are on the PowerPoint, but again, I'm going to show you in real life how to do that. All right, so when we are integrating Nearpod with Google Classroom, we're going to start in Nearpod. You can also start on a Google slide if you're using the Nearpod extension. And again, if you've never don't know anything about that, go back and watch our advanced Nearpod. We went over it in detail. So from here, you're going to choose live or student paste. So I'm going to click student paste. Oh, this one I already assigned. Let's do this one. So student paste, and I'm going to come here and click Google Classroom. And again, you can toggle on and off right here if you want them to have to click submit before going to the next slide. So I'm just going to choose Google Classroom. It's going to bring up this little window. And again, first time you do it, it might ask you to log in. And it's going to say, which classroom do you want to share it to? I'm going to choose my classroom. And then I'm going to choose, do I want it to be an assignment, an announcement? It could be material. I'm going to choose an assignment and I'm going to hit go. Then I can change all of my assignment properties here and I can title it. Just going to put test assignment for now. And I'm going to click assign. And so from there, I'm going to go into my teacher view, refresh it, and you can see my test assignment is now here in my Google Classroom. And I want to show you from a student's perspective. I can see the assignment here. I can click on it as a student. I'm going to be able to click right here. And when I click on it, it is going to take me out of Google and into Nearpod. So I will be completing this in Nearpod, which means you as a teacher will have to grade it in Nearpod using reports. but I'm already logged in. It's going to put my name in, and then I'll be able to complete the activities. All right, and then when I have finished that, I'm going to go back to my Google Classroom and I'm going to mark that assignment done so that my teacher then knows that they have to go into the reports and grade my assignment because I am done. All right, so that's pretty easy to integrate it with Google. So next we're going to talk about how to integrate it with Teams. And we're going to watch a quick video, but first, before I play that, I do want to show you, you're going to do it the same way. You're going to go to the assignment, assign how you want to assign it. It's being glitchy again. Let me refresh again. Because I'm logging into different things is why it keeps kicking me out. When you have certain things that you use it with, then it won't do that to you. It's just because I'm logging into different Google accounts and different, when you have like a Google account and then you try to connect it with like a Office account, it gets confused and kicks you. Okay, so I'm going to do a student pace assignment, and this time I'm going to click Teams. And I don't want you to notice here that Remind is also an option here as well. So if you are using Remind, it's free. You can assign things in there as well. So for this, I'm going to just click Teams. And it's going to have you sign in. I don't currently have my Teams account linked. I'll just show you the video. That's why I had the video there. But you just go here and then it's going to ask you to choose your team and where you want to put it. And then we'll put it in, but I will show you the video here. But one thing I do want to show you before I show you that is you can email assignments to students. You can also simply have them go to joinnearpod.com and they can put in the code as well. And then you can grade it in reports. So even if you have an LMS that I did not go over today, you can use that. I also find that on YouTube, you can do a quick search, type Nearpod with different LMSs, and it will pop up those videos as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back and show you this video on how to
One way to share
integrate.
Nearpod lessons in Teams is to add it to this horizontal bar. To do this, you'll need to add the Nearpod app to your team. You can click these three dots, More Apps, type in Nearpod, and you'll see it here. When you open this, it will ask you to choose a team. I will add my team here. Click Open. The first time you do this, it will ask you to log into your Nearpod account. You'll only need to log into your Nearpod account once, and as you can see here, my whole Nearpod library is showing. I can launch any lesson student paced, and I'll do so here with this lesson. And then I click Save. The student paced lesson now shows in Teams along the horizontal bar here. The next time you'd like to add a Nearpod lesson to the horizontal bar, all you need to do now is click the plus sign, choose Nearpod, and then find it in your library in the same way we did before.
So it's pretty easy, self-explanatory. And again, you can do it right in Teams, or you can do it from Nearpod just by clicking that Teams button as well. All right, so that is it for our Nearpod LMS integration. If you have questions or would like me to go over anything specific to your LMS, please email me. Feel free to reach out. And again, if you need anything else, I'm available. And thank you for giving me time today to present that.
Thank you so much, Amber. We appreciate you taking the time to show us how to integrate this wonderful tool into our LMS. And again, a lot of people do like to use Nearpod with their Google Classroom or different LMS. And so this is a great, great feature that you have shared with us. I did include in the chat a link so that you can get to our Tech Bytes channel. So if you want more information on Nearpod, we did have 2 other sessions, one with some basic Nearpod information, and then one with the advanced Nearpod instructions that Amber did mention earlier in her presentation. So we hope that you have learned something from this this presentation this afternoon, and we hope that we get to see you come back for some more presentations. The RECs in New Mexico are all trying to give all of the educators across the state some little tidbits of information, whether it be small, short, mini series of information for what we call Lunch and Learn here at the REC, or if they are Tech Bits and Tech Bites, which are more of an hour-long type of presentations throughout our different RECs. We're all trying to come together for Ed Tech and be able to give our educators something to go by. So teachers teaching teachers, so they're not very polished and professional, but we are just helping each other out and trying to provide some resources for each other. So we hope to see you all coming back again. And if you need any further trainings, we always have these recorded and we upload them to our YouTube channel. So again, thank you, Amber, for sharing this knowledge with us, and we hope to see you come back and join us again. Thank you very much, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.